So yeah, that's it. We started. Go ahead.
All right, Hetapu family, this is Reki Kajara, the High Priestess of the Raseki Arts Temple. I am here with my partner, the Wellness and Fitness Guru,
I like that title. That's a good title.
educator extraordinaire, and we are here. Amistad, I'm sorry. Let's
Hey,
get that part out.
Amistad, that's me.
Amistad is you.
That's what I go by now.
We are here to share with you all today some great information about copper and copper deficiency and why it's so important for us to know about copper and how it affects us. And I will just start by saying copper is a mineral
Really?
that we all have within us. It is very common and prominent here on this side of the world in the Americas. The red dirt speaks of the copper that's in the dirt. Copper is associated with the planet Venus. It has a feminine energy and is good for us in many ways, both internally and externally. And when we have our copper deficiencies, it can cause us to have many problems. And we're going to hear more about the deficiencies from Amistad.
Oh, okay. This is my turn.
It's your turn.
All right. So we have copper deficiency. I guess it's this particular mineral is dear to me. I didn't know much about minerals until I started to do some research about a year ago. And I'm so glad that I did, because what I discovered is that many of our ailments and diseases all come from mineral deficiencies. Also in combination with certain vitamin deficiencies. So in just learning that, the way that we've been treating disease, somebody said hello. Hey, Sacred Aspirant Walker. All right. In learning how we, in dealing with, the way we deal with disease today, is really unlike the way the ancestors would deal with disease. Most of our diseases come because we are really out of order. We are in great dishonor of the way that our ancestors used to eat. We're in great dishonor of our culture, just in the way that we would provide for our families and how we commune with the earth, how we commune with air, fire, and water. And because now we have this vile teaching that's been given to us, and it's been given to us at such an early age, we think that is the true teaching. And we go about our day doing things according to the standards of those who are in power. All right. But in just researching, what I've learned is, the way our body is composed, the way our body, functions is not the same as it functions for those that are in power. The Caucasian hematocrit levels are different. Their bone density is different. How we mature, the maturation of our bodies, it's different. A lot of things are different, but we are just being held to this one standard, and therefore it's going to mess us up when we decide to go and get like some kind of exam.
Right.
And then they say, well, everything is out of order for you. You're sick, but you may not be sick because it's normal for you to have these particular levels. And being that we don't even know about it is a problem. Right. So in just doing my research, I also discovered that, most of the diseases that we have, practically every disease that we have, it comes from the fact that we're deficient in certain minerals. Okay, so copper is what we're going to talk about today. Now, what are the symptoms or the signs of copper deficiency? You could come up, any?
Yes.
Like what?
I'm going to speak about the hair.
Oh, the gray, the gray beard. Okay, the gray beard. I started getting gray around when I was 35, 36 years old. And I was told that was because I was wise. That's the wisdom, But that's a lie. That is a straight up lie. It doesn't have anything to do with wisdom. What it has to do with, though, is that the melanocytes, they're no longer producing the melanin that's required for it to give the black texture, the blackness that comes from my hair. It's no longer producing the melanin to do that. And so there's something that's missing. There's some raw materials that are missing for the reason why I'm not being able to produce that. Now, I didn't know that. Like I said, I thought it was just a wisdom thing, as the older folks may have told us.
Right.
And a couple years go by, and I started to get another issue. The other issue was hemorrhoids.
Mm-hmm.
So when that issue occurred, it wasn't as bad in the beginning, but as time went on, a couple years went by, it was really aggressive to the point where now I have blood in the toilet bowl every time I use the toilet. And that's when it became really scary. And so I no longer wanted to use the toilet. I mean, there'd be times when I have to use the toilet and I just wouldn't do it. Because I'm like, listen, just yesterday I had blood flow like I had a menstrual period. I'm like, that's a lot of blood coming out. I mean, I don't know how much blood you guys lose in your menstrual period, so I'm gonna take that back. But I do know that it was scary for me, because that's not a normal thing for a man to be spitting on blood, in that intensity. And I went to the doctor because that's what I was taught to do. That's what we was taught to do. So in going to the doctor and waiting for the doctor for 2 to 3 hours, and finally seeing this young Caucasian gentleman standing in front of me with a I don't know shrug about what's going on. I really don't know why you're bleeding so intensely, sir. I don't know what's wrong, but I'm going to give you an aggressive laxative, and this is your prescription. And me feeling completely defeated because, this man really doesn't know how to help me.
Right.
He has no idea. He hasn't been trained, in taking care of people that's highly melanated. He hasn't been trained, and I don't know if he cared or not.
Right.
And so he didn't care, because he told me to take a laxative. So which made it worse. Yeah, that made it worse.
Sure.
So the copper became, I figured out just recently, not too long ago, maybe about a couple months, 3 to 4 months ago, that it was a copper deficiency. Because copper, not only is it responsible for melanin production throughout your body, it's also responsible for the elasticity of major and minor blood vessels. It's responsible for the capillaries that are in my anus. Those things, as pressure was building up, they would burst. And then of course there'll be blood. Also, if you're copper deficient, you open for a stroke. Because a stroke or an aneurysm, which is just, it could be a blockage or a rupturing of the blood vessels, so you would have a blood clot that would generate in your head, and that would be an aneurysm. It could be in your abdomen, it could be in your heart, different places of your body. You can experience these things, and I know many of us out there have relatives or friends and families that have suffered or died from an aneurysm.
Yes.
You understand? And we just, being that we didn't know, because we're going to the doctor who is all about allopathic medicine and not about, a holistic treatment of the body as one. They're telling us this is what they're going to do for us, but it doesn't help us.
They're just really treating the symptoms, though. They're not really trying to cure people. So,
So being that we're so out of dishonor, we got to come back into being and honoring our ancestors and honoring the ways that we had in the past. So the first thing that we got to do is figure out what are those ways.
Yes.
So that's why we're doing this research about minerals and vitamins and amino acids, and because I know we're calling them these fancy names, but really it's just simply what your body gets from the earth, what it gets from the sun, which is fire, what it gets from the water, and what it gets from what's the other one I'm missing? The air. Okay, and these 4 elements, is what we are composed of. We breathe in the air. You get nitrogen and oxygen from that. You eat the food and you get trace minerals and also major minerals from doing that. The fire is where you can get your vitamins from. Vitamin D comes from the fire. A lot of different vitamins are generated in foods because of photosynthesis, you know. And so in this process, we got to make sure we go back to that. Okay, so copper deficiency we covered is aneurysms, gray hair is a sign of copper deficiency, wrinkly skin, wrinkles in your skin, the sagging of woman's breast is a copper deficiency, or the sagging of your skin is a copper deficiency. Hemorrhoids also is a copper deficiency. Okay, now what kind of foods, you know, have copper in? Now the only issue I have with giving you guys a list of foods is this. The only way the food can have the mineral in it is if it's planted in soil that has the minerals in it.
Right.
Okay? Now, why wouldn't the minerals be there? Well, the way that, you know, we do agriculture today, and I was supposed to look up what agri mean because it seemed like it's something against culture. That's why I wanted to look up what agri mean, you know what I'm saying? Like when you like it's something that's like aggregate something, is like it bothers it.
Right, yeah.
So I wanted to look it up and see what agri, that root meant, you know, origin of that root, because our culture has been messed up, you know. And these guys, they take an area and they plant corn and they plant these vegetables in the area and they keep using the soil, and they're only putting in 3 minerals as fertilizer. That's called NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. That's all they're putting in the soil. They're not putting all 90 essential nutrients in the soil. They're not putting 102 trace minerals in there. They're not doing that, okay? They're not replenishing the soil. So the question I was asking, well, how was the soil naturally being replenished before we started to do agriculture? Well, it was flooding.
Right.
Flooding occurred. You know, if the soil was flooded, it would bring minerals from the glaciers because the rivers were flooded, or they could bring it from the ocean because the rivers were flooded. See, and the rivers would flood, and there would be soot that would be deposited, and then that soot and the water would, you know, recede and, you know, be absorbed, and the soot would just settle, and then whatever was deposited would be in the soil.
Right.
Another way old people used to put minerals back in the soil is when we before we had the incandescent lamps, you know, that was invented by Edison. Supposedly it was invented by Edison, but I don't even think he invented that. But these incandescent lamps, you know, before they came, we had to burn wood,
That's what I was
you
gonna
know, in
say.
the fire,
They would burn-
right? So what would they do with the ashes?
Well, they would use the ashes to sprinkle on the dirt and mix them in the dirt.
They would mix the ashes in the dirt. See, they weren't really ashes. Those were minerals.
Exactly.
So they took those minerals and they would put it back in their gardens, and they would just
Rotate.
they would, and that would be a replenishment of the minerals, and therefore when you eat the food that grew in the garden, you would get the minerals in your body again, and then you stay healthy.
Right.
You know, this is all about giving your body what it needs, because the body heals itself. No one does the healing.
The right nutrients.
If it has the right raw
what it needs.
materials,
Yes.
your body is going to heal. You know, but if you don't give it the right raw materials, what is it going to do but just stand there and look at you and be like, well, you're going to give me what I need for me to give you what you need. Mm-hmm. So we have to make sure that we put the right minerals back in the soil. So that is one, these are the things that I'm an advocate of. I'm an advocate of planting your own foods and providing the minerals, because I know where to find the minerals to put back in your garden if you wanted to have your own garden. And two, I also am an advocate of supplementation.
Yes.
You know, with plant-based minerals, because you need it to be plant-based, because that's the way you absorb it. It's not about, because I've learned that it's not what you eat, it's what you absorb.
Yes.
You know, you can't absorb rocks. I can't send you down to the rock mine and have you chewing a quartz and expect for you to get the minerals from the quartz.
It's not gonna work.
You know, you're gonna have a bad time in the restroom, but you ain't gonna have no minerals in your body. You know, so what else we need to cover?
The foods that have
Copper.
copper are dried nuts and seeds, dried fruits as well. And you will find that most minerals can be found in the dried nuts, seeds, beans, dried fruits, and things like that. And there may be a few other things, but I also wanted to add that people also use copper. People who have arthritis and suffer with arthritis pain also wear copper to help relieve the pain and the symptoms that they're feeling from arthritis. Because the copper is an energy conduit, it can help energy to flow. And we have blockages, and that's why arthritis happens in certain areas, because the energy gets stagnant and gets blocked. So when we wear copper bracelets, it helps the energy to flow through us. We have so many nerves going through our hands. It could be very helpful that way externally as well. Wearing copper jewelry, you can absorb it when it's on your skin. So that is another way we can get our copper.
Okay, okay.
Little trace pops, yes.
So nuts, dried beans, whole cereal grains, dried fruits, and they say shellfish are major sources of copper. And but remember what I was saying is that if it's not in the soil, it's just not going to be in your foods as well. Mm-hmm. And that is a big issue, and for the way we do agriculture here in America and other places as well.
We just need to grow our own food if we can, and that way we could be in control or have more control, because even the seeds we get.
And so for right now, what we need to do is we need to make sure we have proper supplementation.
Yes.
Okay, so proper supplementation is going to help you to move towards living a very healthy lifestyle. I want us to be able to live to 120. Mm-hmm. And so for us to be able to do that, we have to make sure we give our body exactly what it needs, and that's the essential nutrients, essential vitamins
and minerals,
yes, and amino acids. So that'll be our copper video for the day, right?
All right.
Give me a high five on that one right there. Bam. All right, you gotta do that thing what you do with the head.
Okay, so we thank you all for joining us, and we will come again with more videos. Make sure to visit us online at rasekihealing.com, on Instagram.
And on my, you can see me on Facebook at Warren Carty, which is where you guys are at right now. On YouTube at Melanated Wellness, and on Instagram at freeamistad.
All right, family. Until the next time. Head to poo.
Oh, poo. That's it right there. Poo, that like that part. You know,
That's the poo.
And then we're gonna go over here.